What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, coming at you today with another episode of Does It Suck? The show where we take a deep dive look at a new game and see what's good or bad about it. This time we're going to be checking out the Dead or Alive 6 demo, because this was just randomly dropped today, and surprisingly, this is a very big chunk of the final game. It includes several different modes, the entire 24-person roster, and actually a tiny slice of the story to give us a good impression of what this game is going to be like. And I have to say that right up front, this is a very impressive tasting. I am completely on board with the game so far. So real quick, let me just show you a bit of the story mode itself. It looks like it's going to be just as eccentric as it's always been. Every fighting game has weird clones and time travel and everything else, and Dead or Alive 6, it loves to go that same direction, having weird people in bikinis who are janitors and also assassins, and I'm totally down for that. It looks like this game is actually going to have quite a bit of single-player content. On the main menu I see things like a quest mode, and also just typical arcade along with the story itself, so clearly they're trying to cater to more than just the typical online audience, more than just people like me who are going to be playing matches on the internet all day long. But with that being said, let's talk about the balance itself, because really that's what matters most. A fighting game that doesn't really play well is not worth your time. Dead or Alive 6 is something that's based on a high, mid, low combo. Basically, every single character, instead of having a typical punch or kick, is more about trying to aim your attacks. And in that way, this is a great refinement of it. It feels like this is a nice step. Everything feels much more fluid, although I do think they managed to tweak things in not the best way. Like, every character has actually been overhauled to some degree. Their combos changed, their speed removed, or things like that. Like, let me just show you a couple people right here. I play a bunch of Dead or Alive. Just full disclosure, this is something I play a ton of hours of, so you're gonna see some crazy combos. Well, right here, this is obviously Ryu Hayabusa. He's somebody I'm really good with, and his attacks typically have a bit of a launch. If you manage to complete a long chain of strikes, sometimes you could get people airborne a little bit more easily, and then when they were falling, they would actually hit the ground a little bit slower, so you had a chance to, if you were good, get an extra hit or two in there. Now, instead, it seems like this is much more balanced towards everybody being very much the same. People's air juggles have all been sped up. This isn't a bad thing, it's just something that takes a little bit to acclimate to. For the most part, though, all the new characters I've played seem super good. This seems like a nice step. I loved Dead or Alive 5, but I'll be honest, I didn't play it super long. After a couple of the DLC characters came out, I got really bored of it and I just dropped it. This game, however, seems like it's probably going to hold my attention a lot longer just because the roster is so big and everybody actually works so freaking well. Now, let me show you just another one that I did have a little bit of a problem with, which is Christie. So, normally, Christie is a very heavy hitter, but her attacks are pretty quick. She's somebody who tries to do these really chain high attacks, and it seems like they managed to slow her down without increasing her damage. And so because of it, this is now a much higher skill character, which I wasn't expecting. When I went online, I really tried to experiment with her, and I noticed that I could really only use some of the older tactics. But let me talk a little bit about the special system. So, if you've never played Dead or Alive, one of the big things about it that I think makes it stand out, and honestly makes it so dang fun, is the fact that there is some ultimate attacks in this, but your special meter is used both offensively and defensively. Basically, whenever you want, by tapping special, you can start a chain combo, or you could do something like make a blockable attack. You can actually make it where whatever the next strike would be, instead of hitting you, will automatically be deflected at the cost of one of your special bars. And this is incredibly useful because it gives you a tactical escape. If somebody is just completely kicking your butt, has you stuck in a corner and you're about to die, by using this, you can stop their combo and basically have a small chance to try and defend yourself. One last breakthrough to basically make a giant comeback. attack. Or if you want, you can just save up and do a very standard ultimate attack. These things are big and gorgeous, and really, I think that they are hilarious. So many times when I'm in these arenas, it's nice to just blow somebody completely across the stage with one of these super Kamehamehas. I think that Dead or Alive 6 is very, very sharp, but I do have a little bit of concern already when it comes to the netcode. One of the biggest things that can make or break any online game is basically how well it connects to the internet. I want you to be able to perfectly calculate where my fist is as it connects with your face. Pretty obvious, right? Well, in this game, it's hard to tell how much of this is connectivity issues or the server lagging out. I really can't quite tell. Before the round actually begins, it'll show you the strength of your opponent, basically saying their ranking and also how good their internet is. Do they have high speed or are they using a 1996 modem? And I think that everybody seems like they have a tiny bit of a delay, which ended up screwing me up here and there. Now, is this just because it's a beta? Is this not a final version? Or are the servers just being overloaded? I'm not exactly certain, but I will admit that there were a couple times when I was trying to line up a huge crazy combo and I knew every single strike I should be doing. I had the incomplete thing laid out in my mind, but I wasn't able to pull it off simply because there were tiny micro freezes in the game, which ended up screwing up my timing, which made it where I ended up punching somebody in the stomach instead of the freaking chest. Now, this is something that'll probably be fixed, and obviously every one of these games usually gets improved about a week after launch. There's usually like a 7-day patch where they manage to really smooth out the servers. So even still, I am now very, very interested. I do have a little bit of concern when it comes to some of the new characters seem incredibly strong. I think that in their effort to try and really reinvent this game and make it fresh and different, they may have went a little bit too far, but actually I'll admit that this is something that sort of excites me. Dead or Alive 6 is something that is just so perfectly balanced at all times. I get a little bit of a thrill whenever they try and just throw somebody in there that's completely absurd. Somebody who is way too strong, way too over the top, or has a crazy giant attack that nobody can really deal with. Some of the people here are a little bit like that. This isn't really going to be an issue in the long run. It's just something that I think at launch is going to leave a little bit of an issue. I guess that my final thoughts on this game really comes down to the fact that I want to see what else this game has to offer. We hear that the quest mode is going to basically have different styles of fights with very, very specific tasks in them, only being able to punch a certain way or block a certain way. They're basically like a special challenge mode, and the story mode is obviously going to be just as exuberant and over the top as every other one in the series has been. So I guess now I'm just kind of wanting to see at launch how much this game manages to do, how much it manages to be different, and how much it really manages to appeal to our senses. Because right now, it seems like it is very, very sharp. I guess if I had just one major worry about this game, it's that I really hope that they're not focused too much on the tournament scene. I say this because I've seen this with so many different fighting games lately, which is where they end up rushing a game at the last minute to make sure that it can get that mass appeal. They want to make sure that they can get into things like Evo and start getting fighting tournaments going, and so because of it, they end up screwing up a little bit of the final efforts. They end up leaving out final cutscenes for story modes, or they end up just completely dropping the arcade mode like Street Fighter V did. That does not seem to be the case here, but I do worry whenever I see a game that is this big and this deluxe and is selling for such a high price tag if you get the Ultimate Edition. I do always have that little bit of a voice in the back of my head that says, will this be enough? So far, my first impression is extremely positive. I've now been playing this all freaking day, lost a bunch of matches, won a bunch of matches, ranked up a bunch, and now I'm just ready for more. I hope that this sets a good trend going forward, and I'm certainly going to be buying it day one, just so I can go on there, try and get some matches, and see if it's as good at launch as it is right now. But what do you think? I have seen some people on the forums complaining a little bit about Diego. What are your thoughts on the game so far, and are you somebody who's actually into fighting games, or is Dead or Alive 6 something that is just completely bewildering to you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and seriously, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, share with your friends if you haven't already, and be sure to subscribe. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. I'm actually so sick right now that I can't hear my own voice. I am just that stuffed up. So once again, if I sound a little bit funny, I promise I'm not Kermit the Frog. This is Kermit the Frog playing a little bit of Dead or Alive 6. Ha ha ha, be safe, subscribe. Yeah, I'm loopy. I need a Red Bull. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.